TIL an estimated 750,000 chocolate sprinkle and butter sandwiches, hagelslag, are eaten each day in the Netherlands. YouTuber Hoek rated this breakfast 2/10 after evaluating taste, nutrition, and satisfaction. The next day he was declared persona non grata by the Dutch government. Goddamn, the thumbnail for this looks like an ant sandwich. When your mom buys these sprinkles but with the colored chocolate figures / chunks and you get into a fight with your sibling because they got more chunks and then your mom has to fish out extra chunks so it's even. As an American, who am I to judge? TIL, a man who fell overboard while fishing alone, was rescued because a father and son found his empty boat and used the GPS to trace where he had fallen overboard. Imagine you're flailing about in the water, about to drown, and your own boat comes back to save you. Homeboy must have thought he had gone delirious. I'd just have assumed it was a ghost boat and let it continue on its journey. TIL William Shatner told Star Trek fans to get a life. In a 1986 Saturday Night Live skit, the actor tells obsessed fanboys it's just a TV show. The SNL segment accurately portrayed Shatner's feelings about Trekkies, who had unrelentingly pestered him since the original 1960s Star Trek. Comic writer Brian Bendis, creator of Jessica Jones and Miles Morales, has a comic about his first convention. He ended up in the green room with James Doohan, Scotty from Star Trek, and people kept seeing him in there and screaming "Beam me up, Scotty" at him. He'd smile and wave, and then told Brian how much he hated the fans. In episode 2F09, when Itchy plays Scratchy Skeleton like a xylophone, he strikes the same rib twice in succession, yet he produces two clearly different tones. I mean, what are we to believe? That this is some sort of a magic xylophone or something? Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder. And then it became a major plot point in Galaxy Quest. Leonard Nimoy got tired of the fans at one point, too, but he changed his mind over the years. Even if the show didn't mean that much to them, it has had such an impact on other people's lives. I saw a quote from Whoopi Goldberg the other day where she said Uhura was the first black woman character she had seen on TV that wasn't a maid. It made her believe she could grow up and be whatever she wanted to be. TIL, a student, wore the same pair of jeans 330 times over 15 months without washing them, then after washing them, wore them another 13 days. A textile scientist had tested the jeans for bacteria both after the 15 months, pre-wash, and after the 13 days. Little difference in bacterial count was found. A better test would be for two pairs of jeans, unwashed regularly and one not washed, then compare. Okay, so the takeaway here is that bacterial contamination occurs in the early days after laundering? Which show starts as a 10/10, but ends as a 1/10. Pretty Little Liars. Loudspeaker. The way it ended was straight up insulting to everyone who spent years loyally watching that show. I don't know that it started as a 10/10, but Weeds absolutely collapsed after about the third season and somehow kept going. Once Upon a Time. I loved the first 2 seasons but literally couldn't watch after that. I absolutely loved Blacklist. I could watch James Spader in his element all day, but as the seasons went on I could no longer tolerate the character of Elizabeth Keene and the constant flip-flopping of whether Reddington is her father or not. It got so old. For those who used a computer between 1995 and 2001, what's the computer game from that time that sticks with you the most, and why? Lemmings on a floppy disk. Space Cadet Pinball. Back when Windows came with actual games. I was not prepared for how addictive The Sims was going to be. My friends would come over and play it for a bit and then they'd get hooked too. It was as close to crack as 10-year-olds got. To this day when I hear the ending credits theme to The Simpsons, some part of me still thinks, okay, time to go play The Sims. The X-Wing and TIE Fighter Space Sims. Holy hell, they were good. Till Marie Curie had an affair with an already married physicist. Letters from the affair leaked, causing public outrage. The Nobel Committee pressured her to not attend her second Nobel Prize ceremony. Einstein told Marie to ignore the haters, and she attended the ceremony to claim her prize. I am convinced that you should continue to hold this riffraff in contempt. If the rabble continues to be occupied with you, simply stop reading that drivel. Leave it to the vipers it was fabricated for. Einstein sure had a way with words. I'm sure Einstein was completely unbiased on his position on extramarital affairs. Till that human body temperature has declined in the past century. The leading theory is that we as a species had a higher parasitic load for centuries, which led to chronic inflammatory processes that elevated body temp to reduce parasitic burden. However, as we have reduced parasitic exposure, those drivers of chronic inflammation are now absent and we are bioregulating to a more homeostatic norm. My wife's feet count for a decent percentage of that. Till that Nazi General Erwin Rommel was allowed to take cyanide after being implicated in a plot to kill Hitler. To maintain morale, the Nazis gave him a state funeral and falsely claimed he died from war injuries. To maintain morale is a funny way of saying, to not create a martyr in the face of Hitler's crumbling public approval. It was a much more complicated affair. Rommel knew, but didn't participate, and Rommel's fortunes were sunk by his handling of D-Day. My recollection is that he knew of a possible plot in the final months of the war and didn't say anything. He knew the war was over as the Allies stormed Normandy. Non-Americans who have been to the US, what is the weirdest thing about America that Americans don't realize is weird? Putting the real estate agent's face on the for sale signs. American here, but something I didn't realize was weird until I traveled out of the country. Some of our coins don't have the denomination/value on them. For instance, our 10-cent piece just says 1 dime. How TF are tourists supposed to know how much a dime is worth? Oh well, it's the smallest, so it must be worth the least, right? Wrong. I love our country, lol. How easy it is as an outsider to make friends. You guys are nice as hell. I moved here back at the start of the year. I've got my small group of friends back in NZ and thought I'd have trouble making new ones, but Americans have been some of the friendliest people I've met. It's big. Like, really big. I'm from the UK, and 2 years ago, I did Route 66. Even taking the interstate, so not actual Route 66, but you get the idea, it took 4 days of 12+ hours driving to do it. It's goddamn huge. Till that Eleanor Roosevelt's maiden name was Roosevelt. She was Teddy Roosevelt's niece and FDR's 5th cousin once removed. Saved her a small fortune in not needing to get new monogrammed linens. My paternal grandparents had the same surname before marrying as well, an uncommon one. It turns out in the 1700s 2 brothers emigrated from England to America. One went to North Carolina, the other went to Tennessee. My grandparents were something like 6th cousins. Basically unrelated at that point if we're being honest. If modern medicine didn't exist, would you be dead right now? If yes, from what? Yes. I was born with my intestines out of my body. Stage 4 cancer. Over 3 years. Absolutely. From childbirth. We almost died. Had an emergency C-section. Americans, how are you feeling right now? Man, these people really hate Ohio State. I'll take my emotional support Canadian now. Billionaires advising a billionaire are gonna take care of the middle and lower class. I don't want to talk about it. That being a felon shouldn't disqualify anyone from any job in the country now. What couldn't you believe you had to explain to another adult? I was picking up Italian liras one time, 1999, pre-euros, from a bank in Tennessee. The teller brought me the envelope. When I opened it to count the money, she looked at me with total surprise and asked, "Do other countries have different money?" A bank teller. Woman face palming, medium skin tone. My husband had to explain to a coworker that she couldn't take a train from the US to Europe. She insisted she had to because she didn't like flying. Like and subscribe.